watching PowerNation. Today on Music City Trucks, we decorate the living room on our square body.
And we take our K-10 back in time with a few touches straight out of the 80s.
A real deal Hollywood icon shows up.
And finally, we take this square body out for its very first drive. I mean, this is the kind of truck that makes dreams come true.
This has got to be the most iconic design. Welcome to Music City Trucks. I'm Mark Christ. You can see we got a new face here in the shop, Eric Smart. He's the newest member of the PowerNation family, and he's going to be joining us here in the Music City Trucks shop to help us out. Eric, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Mark. It's great to be here, and it is even better to look at this thing in person and see that it is almost done. We will be firing it up before the day is out, but we still have some really great surprises for you guys before we close the lid on this thing for good.
Well, you came just in time because this thing's almost done. All the hard part's done. Now we're moving on to the easy stuff like getting this interior installed. Now, if you have a Chevy truck built between 1947 and 1998, TMI Products has everything you need to overhaul your interior. This is their Pro Series Sport R kit. You see the door panels are completely custom. We picked the colors with that red, silver, and black plaid and the blue vinyl to match our paint scheme. And they tied it all in with the red stitching. It looks really, really nice. But they do have off-the-shelf options as well. Of course, we've got a dash pad to match here, a billet steering wheel, visors. But of course, my favorite part has to be 60-inch Deluxe bench seat. I'm a sucker for a bench seat. And this one is at the top of the list. I mean, it's super comfortable, it looks amazing, and it's got all kinds of cool features, like the backrest for the person sitting in the middle is actually an armrest with a cup holder built in. Now, what could be better than that on a long road trip? Of course, it does have an extra little pocket here for your map or your registration, but if you're gonna be on a long trip, all this extra bolstering on the seat bottom and the seat back really helps keep you planted, and it's also really comfortable. I can't wait to get this thing installed, but before we get this in, we've got some other things we need to do the interior. First, I'm gonna start with the door panels. All right, we're gonna start over here on the driver's side. We've got everything assembled inside this door, all the moving parts. We've got our door mechanism all dialed in and our window regulator, so it's time to put this panel on and we don't have to worry about it anymore. I even got everything lubed up. Now, TMI gives us this template because this new door panel goes all the way to the bottom of the door where our original door panel stopped right about here. So just need to put this up there, tape it in place and mark it and drill some holes. We're gonna make sure all this lines up and I'll mark and drill my holes. I really like this look of this panel. Okay, some final touches. I like that we switched that to black. Nice contrast. Last touch is this little die right here. Classic Industries had these.
So with the rest of the interior looking as good as it does, there's no way we're sticking this back in there. It's old, it's beat up, and it just wouldn't look right next to all that beautiful paneling we've got over there. So we will be reusing our original gauge cluster and gauges, but it's a little bit dirty. So we're gonna get that cleaned up before we actually put it together and get it in there. Now, on top of that, we got a brand new bezel and crystal clear gauge lens from Classic Industries. Now, if you think that looks good, then you gotta know they also send you this if you feel like dressing it up even more. But like I said, this stuff's just a little bit crusty, so we're gonna get that cleaned up before we put it all together. So to take these gauges out, you're gonna use a 1/4 inch or a 7mm socket. I've noticed a lot of these trucks actually alternate between the two when it comes to these small dash bolts, so make sure you have them both handy. Now, we're gonna be reusing our original printed circuit because it's actually still in pretty good shape, but if you do need a replacement, you can get one at Classic Industries. Before you put everything back together, make sure you clean out the inside of the cluster and all the electrical contacts. Now that we've touched up our needles and cleaned the gauge faces, it almost looks like a brand new cluster. So we're gonna go ahead and put the speedometer in here, and that finishes up all the gauges, which means that all we have left to get this thing done is screw them all down, put the cover and the lens on here, and then we're ready to go put it in the truck. With the cluster restored and fully assembled, we slide it back into place.
All right, you ready for this dash pad?
Absolutely. This thing looks good.
Cluster looks nice. Okay, I'll go get some screws.
All right. Time for the new bezel to go in.
All right, let's take this little protective coating off. Oh, look how good that
that's
looks.
Gorgeous.
All right, well, that dash is done. Now it's time to move on to getting this floor covered. This is heavier than it looks.
It definitely is.
Once we added the floor padding, we make quick work of our vinyl flooring. We chose this option because this truck was originally equipped with one, plus they're super easy to keep clean.
With the seat belts installed, it's time for the seat. We love the way this interior turned out.
It may be a little loud for some, but we think it fits this build just right. Next, before we finalize, we've got to accessorize our K-10 square body time machine. Well, we're getting really close on our square body here, the Faux guy. We only have a few things left, but these are like key ingredients to make this truck what it should be. You might recognize this. What you got?
And you got these right here, classic KC daylighters.
Yeah, wow. Well, doesn't get any more 80s than that. I'm gonna start with this antenna mount.
And I'm gonna tackle the roll bar and spotlights that we found at Summit Racing.
So actually drilling into the freshly painted truck's not my concern. Drilling into the freshly painted truck in the right location, that's my concern. How's everything going for you, Eric?
Not too bad up here. Definitely glad we put this bed liner in, because now I don't have to worry about damaging anything while I'm putting this roll bar in here.
While Eric's working on the roll bar and lights, I'm running the CB antenna cable and getting the side moldings installed. Well, now the truck is fully accessorized. So am I.
It's time to get the lights installed and give this truck a face. "5 o'clock cannot come fast enough today."
Jeez, this week, oh my gosh. Is it 5 o'clock yet? This week is just, oh my.
Now it's time to get the headlights and turn signals installed so we can move on to putting in the new grille.
You know, toward the end of the build, I always say that 10% of the work takes 90% of the time, it seems like. Doesn't really take that much, but sure feels like it. When you're at the end, you're like, oh, we're almost there. Just a couple of little things, just the grille and the headlights and the bumper and the winch, and truck's done. Not quite that simple. With the outer molding installed, the new grille can go in, along with our brand new bow tie badge.
To finish out this part of the truck, we're gonna get the headlight bezels installed and peel off the protective film to reveal the chrome on our grille. Look at that shine.
Ooh, big moment. Really glad we went with this yellow finish on this bumper. Just kidding. We're just trying to protect this beautiful advanced plating chrome finish. Wow. That's chrome now. That's chrome now.
That is the shiniest thing I have ever seen in my life.
Now it's time for our Fall Guy style winch mount. Oof. Things are getting real fast. Well, this is absolutely a huge moment for this build, and what would an old school build be without an old school worn winch? In case you don't recognize this, and you probably recognize it, but you might not know what it's called, this is a Warn M8274. Now, this winch has been made for now almost 50 years nonstop. Now, they've done a few upgrades over the years, but pretty much this is the exact same winch that they launched in 1974. This is an upright winch with a 6 horsepower motor. It's got 10,000 pound pulling capacity. And plus it just looks cool. I mean, you can kind of see the cogs here on the outside. I mean, this is just amazing. I love these winches. It's gonna look awesome on our truck. One cool thing that this one has as an upgrade is this synthetic rope, which is pretty cool. So it's a little modern touch. We just need to get this thing installed and, oh, it's getting close.
Look at that. We can't call this finished without adding these KCs. Huge thanks to Summit Racing for this other set of KC daylighters, because this whole entire winch mount and brush guard wouldn't be complete without the KCs on there.
Let's get the hood on there.
All right.
Now you might remember at the beginning of this build, when we first brought it back here to the shop, we put a brand new Duralast battery in it, but we're gonna upgrade yet again because we wanted to go with this one that's got the top and side posts to help run all of our accessories like our winch and our lights. Now these Duralast batteries go through rigorous testing, both cycle tests and extreme temperature tests, so you know these things are in for the long haul. We just need to get this thing installed here and get this thing fired up. We got this Duralast battery from the AutoZone Pro website. Now this battery in particular has 810 cranking amps. More than enough for that big block. All right, fire it off.
Let's see how you did.
Oh,
Listen to that.
Whew. Very nice. Are we done?
I think so.
Yeah.
We gotta check one more thing though.
What's up?
You think anybody still uses these?
I do.
Well, let's find out. Breaker 19, anybody out there?
This is the Fall Guy here. I hear you loud and clear.
Did you hear that? Up next, we found a winch mount from a Hollywood icon, and you won't believe what shows up. No way.
I mean, look at that thing.
This is the Fall Guy here. I hear you loud and clear.
Dude, what was that?
I don't know. Sounds good though. No way.
Come on.
No way.
I mean, look at that thing.
Just look at it. Wow.
It doesn't get any better than this, does it? Well, obviously we knew this truck was here because we ordered this special winch mount from this gentleman right here, Kevin Webb, who not only reproduces Fall Guy winch mounts, but he has a Fall Guy truck himself. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Now, this is not a clone, right?
No, sir. This is an actual truck that was used on the filming of Fall Guy season from about mid-season 2 to season 5 when they ended the show.
And now, how many of these trucks exist that were actually used on the show?
As of right now, I can say there's at least 2 out there. There could be more, but 2 for sure.
2, including this truck?
Yeah, including this truck, yes.
Wow, so that's not a lot.
No, it's not a lot, no. No, these trucks weren't treated very well on the show.
What is this truck? What year is it?
This one is titled as a 77 because of the cab. It's bearing the right front end on it, but this particular truck wore different front ends during the show, depending on how much damage it had received. And they would change with whatever they had on hand, they would put different front ends on it.
Like a lot of TV cars, they just grab something similar and paint it up to match and send it out there on the set. Yeah.
Yep.
Can you open the hood?
Yeah, sure can.
Oh, wow. I think something's missing in here, Kevin.
Yeah, that's what makes it different from the other trucks. This one, the engine that they relocated it underneath the cab of the truck for weight balance, because this was the mid-engine stunt truck. They used it, showed up mid-season 2 to the end of season 5 when they ended the show, and it saved a lot of trucks' lives because they reused this one over and over.
Wow. You know, it's pretty obvious that we weren't trying to create that truck, but it is very refreshing to see how similar they really are next to each other here.
If 20th Century Fox hadn't have picked the brown and gold as those colors, that would have made a good-looking Fall Guy truck too if they had that.
Why don't we go out for a cruise?
Sounds good.
Let's go. Down? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So how'd you end up with this truck?
It kind of found its way to me. It was up for sale on eBay. And I had a friend message me one day, sent me a message with the link to the eBay ad, because I hadn't seen it. And they said, you need this. I clicked on it, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my goodness. So I went and the truck was in Jackson, Mississippi. So I made a trip down there with my dually and my trailer and looked the truck over. It was what it was advertised to be, so I bought it, brought it home.
Yeah, so you took this thing from being purpose-built just to get jumped its whole life.
Yeah.
And you turned it into something that can be driven and appreciated every day.
Yep.
This has got to be one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I mean, especially being a square body guy myself, nothing is more iconic than the Fall Guy stunt truck.
Breaker 19, is anybody out there?
Are you following us?
And hey, tell you what, your CB works. That's amazing.
Yeah, I guess our CB radio works.
I'm following some guy, I think it's Lee Majors in front of me. I was trying to get him to stop so I get his autograph.
Oh, well, I'll definitely give you my autograph, but I'm not Lee Majors. I'm a little more minor than that, but it's really refreshing to see you in my mirror.
And I thought that might have been Heather Thomas there beside you.
Hey, hey! Be pushing that button, yelling at him.
His hair is gray, not blonde.
Yeah.
But it runs well, no overheating problems, and it drives like a regular truck for the most part.
It really does. I mean, that's the most surprising part about it. You know, you would assume dropping that weight all the way back to center, it would affect the performance on the road, but it really doesn't at all. This is like a dream come true for me. This is one of the coolest things I've ever got to do.
Coming up, our K-10 square body that we call Faux Guy hits the open road. That's my favorite square body ever. Well, special thanks to Kevin for bringing his truck out. That was really amazing, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I never thought I'd get the chance to see that thing in person.
Yeah, and he's a cool guy, and he knows a lot about the Fall Guy stuff, which was an added bonus.
Oh yeah.
But now I think it's time to shift our focus to just this truck and what it is on its own, because it does stand on its own.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is by far one of the most beautiful square bodies I've ever seen, and I can't believe that we built this. I mean, this is the kind of truck that makes dreams come true.
Square bodies are pretty near and dear to me because the first ever engine swap I did was in a square body Chevy, so kind of hits home for me to build this truck. But if you look back at where it started, it was a really solid truck to start. But it has come a long way from where we started. Let's take a look at the journey of the build of our 85 K-10 that we call the Faux Guy. We picked this truck up down in Fayetteville, Tennessee, and after some fun at Wooley's Off-Road, we brought it back to the shop, tore it down to the bare frame, mocked up our new drivetrain, and sent the chassis off to be blasted. We painted the frame with some fresh black and started assembly with the 496 big block, 4L80E transmission, Dana 61 tons, a 6-inch lift, and some 36-inch swampers. Meanwhile, we worked the body over and sprayed it back to its original colors, and then it was time for the body to go back on, followed by all those finishing touches. And well, here it is all finished up, and I have to say, if we had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing.
I don't think so. I mean, this is the perfect square body. I don't care what anybody says, it does not get better than this thing.
Well, that says a lot coming from a square body guy. How many of those things you have?
3 right now.
Well, I want to say, I know you haven't been here since the beginning of the build, but thank you for everything that you've done since you've been on board. You really came in and dug in here at the end when things were really tough. And I mean, look at it.
It's been my pleasure to get my hands on this thing. I still can't believe that I got to work on it.
Well, not only did you get to work on it, but you get to drive it. Let's go. I got a ride though, because you need a chaperone.
You mean we can't go to Wooley's?
Not this time. Well, what do you think?
This is the nicest square body I've ever been in, let alone driven.
I look at this truck and I say, that's my favorite square body ever. You mentioned this being a dream build. What's cool about it is, if you're a square body guy, or even if you just like old school trucks like this is kind of what you picture of like the ultimate truck, right? What makes this truck an 80s build or a period correct build? The roll bar, I think, is number one.
The roll bar, definitely. The KC lights on there and on the front.
Chrome wagon wheels.
And then, of course, you know, no replacement for displacement. We got 496 cubic inches of Chevy awesomeness under the hood. I mean, that just screams 80s right there. There is nothing better than this. You know, it's got the perfect lift, it's got the right old school wheels and tires.
Glad to have you on board. Glad you got to drive your dream truck here, bud.
Oh yeah. What do you say we head back to the shop and start planning our next one?
I think that's a good idea.
All right.
We're probably out of gas by now anyway, truth be known.